Hey folks, it's Brian here from BikeHikeCampIreland. Got a new video for you today. It's my 5 hacks for ensuring that your bike doesn't get stolen when you're out on a bikepacking journey or you're out on a day-long bike ride. Okay, so you'll need your multi-tool for this, and you will need 2 hip locks. Okay, so these are basically like a cable tie, which are made of, they've got metal in them and they're just a deterrent. A couple of ways that you can use these hip locks, as well as a couple of things that you can do on the bike to secure your bike and make it a little bit harder for a thief to rob it. Okay, so what you can see here is a cable actuated disc brake. Okay, it's not a hydraulic disc brake. So it is a little bit fiddly, but if you're going into a shop, it's well worth doing it. Just keep going until it's good and tight. And what it does is it pushes the pad that's on this side right against the rotor. And what that means is, there we go. Okay, so you can just about see it here, but what I've done by tightening up this part, it has actually pushed the brake block, the brake pad, right in against the rotor. So by tightening this little nut up here, it has actually pushed the brake pad tight up against the rotor. So you can see there's actually no gap there anymore. Now I'm going to back that off just so you can see. So now I'm just using a different Allen key to back that off, with the hope that you'll be able to see that there's the gap there. Now I twist it clockwise again. It closes up any gap against that rotor. Okay. So the result in doing that is, you can see there, okay, it's totally bound up on that front wheel. So anybody who tries to nick your bike, they'll have their front brake on, basically. So it'll stop that front wheel from turning. So that's your first hack right there. That'll only work if you've got cable actuated brakes, cable actuated disc brakes. Okay, second hack is take your 4mm Allen key, okay, or whatever, if it's 4 or 5. Get your stem bolts and loosen them off. Turn your handlebars. Okay, turn your handlebars and then just tighten them up with your multi-tool. Okay, next tip. Take your hip lock and just pass it through your crank arm. Crank arm chain and your chainstay. Okay, so if you're an opportunistic thief, first of all, you're going to find it really hard to spot that because it's a black crank arm. It's a blue bike, but also this hip lock is black, and it's really hard to see that against that colour, especially with the tyre in the way. So that's another really good use for the hip lock. Okay, your next tip is take your hip lock, run it through your brake disc. There you go. Okay, another thing you can do once you've put the hip lock through your brake disc rotor and the back section of the seat and chainstay, get your skewer. You can back it off altogether. Okay. Keep backing it off. Don't forget to get these springs. And okay, so something that people used to always ask me in the bike shop was what way would these springs go? Because people used to be putting them on like this, thinking that the wider part would go against the frame, but actually it's the opposite way. The skinnier part goes towards the frame, and that wider part sits into this part here. So if you just even look at it, that's how these skewers work. So you just pop it in. It's a little bit fiddly, but everything with bikes is a little bit fiddly, so you need to have a little bit of patience with them. And like I said in a previous video, they work on a camming action. So that's too tight, so back it off a tiny bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you in real time how quick it is to actually do all these things. So I'm just going to undo this. And I should say while I'm doing this, if you have an extra lock, do lock your bike to something. So let's use a number 4 on the handlebars. Sorry. And again, you can see this is still locked up. So we're going to straighten up handlebars first. So I mean, it doesn't take too long. Oops. And you'll see there's actually a torque setting on this stem as well. So just tighten it up. You don't need to over tighten it. Okay, that's that. Let's take the front brake is still locked up there. I'm going to remove this crank arm. There we go, crank arm hip lock is off. And the last thing I need to do is, I'm just going to use this just to save a bit of time, is I'm going to back this off and then check it's running free. It needs a tiny little bit of an adjustment. Still a little bit more, quarter of a turn. And that's good. Everything's good and solid. No movement on that. So that's it. Okay, there's only one last thing you can do with this bike if you didn't bring any of your locks out with you. And that would be, if you're going into a shop for a couple of minutes or whatever, just put it into your highest gear. So get it up onto the small cog on the rear. And sorry, microphone's getting in the way. And pop it up onto the largest cog on the front, and that's your hardest gear to be in. So if a bike thief does actually take it, at least make it a little bit more difficult for them to get away with your bike. So that's it. Please like and subscribe. If you have any comments, I'd love to get some comments, to be honest with you. So if you have some comments, please drop them in there. Let me know what your top tips are. But yeah. And then in a week's time, I hope to have another video out about my trip to Iceland, which I'm just back from there. Looking forward to having that out for you there next week. Okay, thanks a million. Chat to you soon. All the best.